Many of us don't know the real story behind Africa's fight for democracy. See, after gaining independence, many African nations looked forward to the freedom and benefits this would bring. But in real sense, things didn't always go as planned. Today, I want to share with you a truth that is still unfolding, a story of Africa's long road to democracy, where it began, how it progressed till today, and what the future may hold. This is the story of Africa's third wave of democratization. Stay tuned to find out the key events that led to this. In the late 1980s, the world was changing significantly. Far away, the Soviet Union, a global superpower, was breaking apart as the end of the Cold War approached. In Europe, countries were overthrowing governments that had controlled them for years. Bringing a new world order, these winds of change pushed by Western ideology representing freedom and democracy began to reach Africa. Well, at this time, many African nations had won independence from their colonial rulers, but they hadn't necessarily achieved true freedom. Across the continent, countries were often led by the same people who had fought for their liberation. Leaders like Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe and Muammar Gaddafi in Libya stayed in power for decades. But the spirit of change, freedom, and democracy was growing stronger, and Africa was ready to embrace it. From Benin to Zambia, ordinary people began to stand up. They organized national conferences, big meetings where citizens could speak out and demand change. These gatherings were more than just political events. They were moments where Africans took control of their own destiny. By the early 1990s, 25 African countries started holding multi-party elections. The world watched in amazement as for the first time, power began to change hands through the ballot boxes. It was a powerful sign indicating that the people's voice mattered. But the path to true democracy wasn't easy. Many countries faced big challenges. They struggled with poverty, not enough schools, and weak systems to support their governance. In places like the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda, leaders such as Joseph Kabila and Yoweri Museveni found ways to hold on to power. They did this by changing laws and manipulated elections to stay in control. Even today, we continue to see these struggles. In 2024, many African countries are holding elections, but they are constantly surrounded with worries and doubts about fairness. Countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad have experienced military coups where armies have taken over governments, disrupting the people's choice. Through this, military leaders such as Colonel Assimi Goïta of Mali and Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso came to power. As democracy grew in Africa, new partnerships formed. China became a big player, offering to build roads, bridges, and other projects without asking for political changes that would often be the case with Western countries. Due to this, many African governments welcomed this partnership. This meant that countries in the United States and those in Europe who had long supported human rights and democracy found themselves competing for influence. And with the recent emerging Russian influence through military assistance, a sort of tug-of-war cycle similar to the Cold War is starting to form. Once again, the West and Eastern Bloc battle for power and control over Africa on the global stage. This has seen a trend where African leaders often look east for development and investment, while many of its citizens look west, hoping for the freedoms and rights that come with the promise of what they portray as true democracy. The year 2024 has been a crucial time for democracy in Africa. 19 countries are holding elections, with Senegal and South Africa having already hosted their elections, which saw drastic changes in government. Back in June, the South African ruling party, ANC, which stands for the African National Congress, lost parliamentary majority for the first time since 1994, and therefore needed to form coalition partners to surpass 50% votes and form a government. In March, the Senegal opposition candidate, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, won more than 54% of votes in Senegal's presidential election, becoming the youngest president in Senegal's history at 44 years old. His aim, to bring a break to the current political system. These drastic changes are the results of people's frustration with corruption, poor leadership, and the high cost of living in places like South Africa and Senegal. In this case, we see how democracy can be an effective tool used to bring change rightfully. Surveys from groups like the Afrobarometer tell us that most Africans, over 66%, still believe in democracy. However, recently, many people are losing faith in how democracy works, as voting remains a sensitive and vulnerable system which can and has been used to stop and deny people from bringing the change they want. Despite all these challenges, the people of Africa continue to fight for their rights. In countries like Burkina Faso, movements like Le Ballet Citoyen, which means the citizens' broom, bring people together to demand change. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, groups like Lucha, standing for struggle for change, continue to work tirelessly for a better future. They remember the hardships of authoritarian rule and refuse to go back. Our young people especially are passionate about making a difference. While many support democracy, they are often disappointed with how it's being practiced. Instead of just voting, they are finding new ways to make their voices heard through activism on social media platforms which they use to organize communities and drive protests. Recent Gen Z protests in Kenya and Nigeria demonstrate how young people have carried this out. Check out our page to find out more on this. So, to conclude, the story of democracy in Africa is far from over. It's still being written, and as we have seen in the post-independence era, this journey is filled with many challenges but also hope and determination as we have witnessed things get better over time. Democracy isn't just about elections. It's about all of us working together to build a fair and just society. It's about leaders who listen and systems that serve the people. The future of Africa's democracy depends not just on government but also on each one of us. It depends on our willingness to stand up for what's right, hold our leaders accountable, and to participate in shaping our own destinies. Thank you for joining us on this episode exploring Africa's third wave of democratization. If this story has touched you and you believe in democracy, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, PIHOA Network, for more insights on Africa. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the future of democracy in Africa, and how can we make a difference together? Share your ideas in the comment section and let's push this conversation further. As usual, see you guys on the next one.